With its roots planted in the early 90s, this guitar has got a few features that I think anyone's been playing Fenders for a while will very much recognise. Let's check out the signature Susan Tedeschi Fender Telecaster. So the first thing that I noticed about the Susan Tedeschi signature Telecaster was that the logo was ever so slightly different, and actually the serial number was on the front as well as where it was made, which gave me the sort of like all these flashbacks to American Standard, Mexican Standard Fenders. That was before the Player and the Professional series came in. And while doing just a little bit of research on this guitar, found out that it's actually based off of Susan Tedeschi's 1993 American Standard Telecaster, which makes the most sense in the world for this, because one of the kind of big things about it is it's got that kind of old school sort of like profile to it. It's not the modern C one you would expect on a lot of the newer Fender models. It's kind of a lot skinnier, it's a lot flatter, and again, anyone who's been familiar with that kind of previous generation, I guess we can call them, of Fender models will immediately get on with this neck here, as well as that absolutely insane finish on that as well. It's a Caribbean Mist is what this is known as. But one of the particular highlights for myself, not only obviously the sort of like nostalgic feeling towards this, because I've actually got an old Mexican Standard myself, but are the pickups that are in here, which are custom wound Susan Tedeschi models, and this is what they sound like. So as you would expect, you're getting that kind of classic telly sort of spank off of this as well. And you would have heard just in the intro my best country impression. Really, I'm not completely sort of skilled in that, but certainly if you throw in a bit of spring reverb on there and do a little bit of kind of picking on it, you're definitely going to get into that territory, especially if we're hanging in on that bridge pickup as well. Obviously, most Stellies are going to be able to obtain that, but with Susan's style of music that she's playing in the Tedeschi's Trucks band, it definitely suits for obviously getting that little bit of kind of spank out of it as well. But as you would expect with a Telecaster, it is handling a lot of kind of high gain stuff as well. It does have quite a sort of distinctive sound to it, while still being able to obviously kind of merge in with a band really easily. of the other key highlights that has been put into this guitar is actually to do with the tone knob here as well. Anyone who gets this guitar in the lap, you'll immediately notice if you do use that at all, that there's actually there's a little notch right in the middle. Now, what's been actually put into this guitar is known as the TBX system. Now, what that essentially does is it removes all the resistance from your tone knob, which as soon as you get it past that kind of, if you imagine it, so tone going from like 0 to 10, we're going like 0 to 5, that's your regular kind of tone knob, what you would expect with a guitar, and it sounds like this. Like a traditional tone knob, as you would expect, but as you're going to go past that little notch, you start to activate that TBX system that's in there. It removes the resistances of the tone knob and just gives you a push to the presence, the bass, everything else. You can kind of push the front end of the amp a little bit, which is really, really cool. So if you check this out, I'm going to just have it on the middle where your 10 would be on a sort of traditional tone knob, and then I'll start kind of ramping it up and you can see exactly what it's doing. If you check what that sounds like on a bit of a dirt as well there, I'll just go to like more of a kind of rhythmy sort of sound and just play a couple of chords here as well, just so you can hear what it's doing. It can almost act as like, the way I envision that I would certainly use it anyway, it's like, say you've got a solo coming up or something within the song, or, you know, a particular sort of, you know, guitar part that does need to stand out, that instead of you having to hit like, you know, an EQ pedal or a boost pedal or something like that for you to get a little bit more, increasing that up, the tone knob up, activating the TBX system in it, you'll almost kind of be, you know, kind of kicking the front of your amp just that little bit more, as I mentioned, and it'll give you like almost to kind of boost it in with itself, you know, and just make you stand out just with the kind of EQ and the frequency range that's going on with the band, because obviously that's really important, especially if you are playing live. But let's see how it handles with a little bit more of a crunchy sound. So even with having that just built into your guitar, kind of like I was saying, it's almost acting like an inbuilt boost there. Not in the volume sense, obviously, because you're not actually getting any more volume out of it. It's just crafting your EQ just that little bit kind of extra on the top and giving it a little kick to the front of the amp just to make you stand out just that little bit more. The kind of other main highlights I would say about this guitar, you know, we've got Susan's name on the back of the headstock there. We've got our little insignia on the back plate as well. And that Caribbean Mist paint job on there is awesome too. You can see it's kind of like standing out with the lights just that little bit more. There's a little bit of a sparkle to it, which is awesome too. The kind of classic style, or actually no, I wouldn't even call that classic style. It's classic because it's of the old generation, but the 6 individual saddles there as well, that's not uncommon on certain Telecasters these days as well, but it's certainly not going for that classic sort of ashtray design on it as well. So anybody who likes to adjust their intonation like really, really specifically, and also who doesn't want to get sort of rubbed on the side of the hand if that does affect you, that's one thing to take note with this guitar. But my kind of main takeaway from this as well, not only is it, you know, really well put together guitar, it does feel great and it's quintessentially Fender Telecaster as well, but it's very different to what you're getting these days. You know, if you want that kind of vintage thing, you know, you go for the Vintage 2 selection. If you want the most modern sort of iteration of Fenders as well, you've got the Professional 2s. But where this lies, as I mentioned, was more that kind of American standard, Mexican standard, the previous generation of Fenders, which they have carried on some of their feelings and the feelings of the guitar, not, you know, the feelings of Fender itself, but the feelings of playing the actual guitar have carried over. But this is very much, it's harkening back to those. So as kind of I mentioned right at the start, if you are a fan of that previous generation of Fenders, you do need to get a hold of this, because it's kind of like putting on an old pair of shoes again. They just fits oh so nicely. So yeah, that's about as much as I wanted to cover with the Susan Tedeschi Signature Telecaster. My kind of final impressions of it is just, it's such a like solidly kind of put together Telecaster. There's no real bells or whistles with it other than that TBX tone system put into there. But even if you don't need to use that, you know, you do have just your standard sort of scope of tone controls to work with. And just if you just need something that's not so obviously someone's signature model, you know, the only sort of impressions that we've got are the signature on the back and the logo on the back plate there. So if you do want something that's a bit more discreet, but again harkens back to that previous generation, then you do owe it to yourself to try this out. But let me know what you think about this guitar down in the comments below, and if you have liked the content at all, give us a like and give us a subscribe. It really does help the channel, and you can keep up with all the freshest guitar news coming out. But until next time, I've been Kieran, and this has just been a very quick look at the Fender Susan Tedeschi Signature Telecaster. Have a great day.